Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the map making series. I want to start off by saying thank you for all of the feedback in the previous video. It is really appreciated. You guys seem to really enjoy the series, and you know what, I think it's going to get a lot better, because that episode I was a little bit unsure about what I was doing, but now I'm very much in the mindset of, making progress with this map and showing you that progress as we go along. So I've actually done away with the horrible, ugly bedrock map that we have right here, and I've replaced it with something much nicer. But I thought I'd start off in this map because I wanted to show you the captain system that I started developing. I wasn't really 100% sure of what I was doing, but I was kind of forcing myself to try and make progress to, kind of figure out what it is that I needed to do to make the system work. And as I got further into it, I realised that it was going to get quite complex and ugly and difficult to make work. But the idea that I had in mind for a captain selection system is that you'd have two modes, a randomised one and a select mode. And so the select mode would involve you choosing a player, or someone choosing a player. It doesn't sound quite right now, but basically a player can walk into this area here, and then depending on which captain's turn it is to pick, they would either reject or accept that player, and then that player would be teleported into their team, which is going to be this little holding area over here. So I didn't really like this idea 100%, but I couldn't think of any others at the time, so I sort of went with it. And the redstone and the command blocks got very complex very quick. And so we have over on this side random mode and select mode. So the random one would be the redstone would automatically teleport players into the selection area for the captains to pick. So what I had to start off with over here was storing data on a player's name again. So the player's name was underscore, and now I think this means orange captain. The V I could never remember, but that was supposed to stand for something as well, and then random mode, and then the one behind it you'll see says select mode. But when we go over to this side, you'll see that it says OB, where I think it was supposed to say BC for blue captain, but I just forgot what I was writing, which I find a little funny. But yeah, it doesn't really affect what we're doing there. And so over here I built a bunch of these, I think they're AND gates. It's a little complex, but basically these check for that setting, and then there's a gate here. So when both of these are selected, it means that this gate is then active, but we have an override from another one here which is linked to the mode select. So that's another part of redstone circuitry that's basically saying until the captains are put into these two areas, you can't use any of this. But when they're in that area, that gate is that thing is going to be on, so this is all turned off, and it's overriding the output of the gate before it. So then this would turn on, and the first thing it does is actually turn back the mode selected, so this would turn on again, meaning you can only get a single pulse. And then after that, I started to get really confused with what to do next, because you had to make the whole system automated so it could teleport players in and randomly pick them over, or this would come down so they could walk through and be selected one by one, and then you'd have to make it so that the redstone would swap back and forth between either captain so they could pick a player. And quite quickly it turned into a nightmare of thoughts. I just couldn't figure out how to put it all together. So Juggernaut came on the server, I was showing him it, and we were having a little chat, and then that idea popped into my head to simplify everything. And this is what I came up with. So over here we have when the captains are selected, teleport all the other players into cages one by one. So we've selected our captains, and then the players, as it says, one by one, a bunch of command blocks would just teleport them into a cage. So these represent our cages over here, and it doesn't matter if all of them get filled up because it's not relying on that. That's not how our system works. When a captain walks over to a cage and presses the button, it's going to check behind it for an input from both the player being in that cage. So if you walked up to a cage that didn't have a player in it and pressed the button, nothing would happen. But it checks what captain is in the region. So if you're standing in front of that button, it's going to check to see what captain is actually here, and then it will know what command blocks to activate after that. So if the blue captain is standing in front of here and there's a player in there, when you press the button, the redstone is going to teleport that player onto your team. And so then when you press that button, the command blocks will also then teleport that captain back into their selection area and the next captain back out again. So it's very smart because it's kind of modular. It's like we have the cage, and then the redstone behind the cage is controlling everything. And so then the only other thing that you need is this thing over here, which is like a massive AND gate. So it's going to test for players at all of the cage locations all the time, and so whenever there is no players at all of the cages, now we'd also have another AND gate with that to make sure that the selection mode is sort of present, because there's going to be no cages, no players in those cages when you first start up the map. So when there's no players in the cages and you're in selection mode, it means all of the players have been selected, and then this redstone over here can activate and teleport everyone to their respective locations, which is a really, really good system, I think. And I've actually started building this already, which is what I'm going to show you now. We're going to say goodbye to the bedrock world because it's really ugly and I'm sick of trying to work in it. I think it's really important to mix things that motivate you together, and for example, the bedrock does not motivate me. It doesn't look very nice, and when you're working on this you don't really see what your map is evolving into, so I decided to ditch it. So the bedrock has gone and it's been replaced by nether quartz. Now the reason I was using bedrock was because we wanted a template for future maps. However, I think it would be much more motivating to be in this kind of environment to keep me heading towards that goal of getting this ready for Gold Rush. And then what we would do is rip apart all of this nether quartz and replace it with something that suits the map we're working on, which I think is a lot better way of doing it. So you can see, started working on a lobby area here. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in these walls, but something does need to be done about that. So if we go and look over here, we have our captain selection system. It now just looks a lot more organized and neat behind here. You know, I've given myself more space and it's a lot easier to follow what's going on. I've also tested and checked all of this out as well, so it works like it did before. There's nothing really that's been changed. One or two things have been tidied up a little as well. And so down here we have the teleporting for all of the players, and so one by one it's going to go through all of these command blocks and teleport them into each of the cages that I talked about a moment ago. And so I've already started working on the redstone for that, like I described. And if you're wondering what this is as well, I needed to be able to test for when a captain is in this location here. Now if I go stand in this corner, we're using the shape of a sphere, so if I go up slightly you'll see that I'm now out of the range that it's detecting. But because it's a sphere shape, it means that we need to capture an area from down below, and it's really difficult to describe actually unless you can visualize a sphere in your head. Because if we were to test from this location here, then for us to be in the corners, if you imagine there's like a big circle, it's going to go off in that direction a lot, and that means that captains that are standing up here will also be detected by that. So what we're doing is we're detecting from down here. This is y equals 16, and at the moment we are standing at y equals 59, and there's a radius of 50, which is huge, but we're only in the top part of that sphere. And so the reason that we've done that is so if a captain is standing up here, they're not activating that. Yeah, if they're standing down here in the arena, they are. So yeah, that's why I've done that like that. And we're going to use that same test for location over here as well. So as I described a while ago, this is the redstone that's going to control the whole system. It's modular, it does everything because it's based on the captain coming over here and then saying I want this player, and then it will set everything in motion for the next captain to come in and for that player and the captain to be teleported back up the top. So let's fly around the back here and have a look. We have 3 test floors at the bottom, so this is going to have a clock hooked up for it. It's been a while since I last looked at this, so that is that location I described a moment ago. It's going to test for the sphere, basically whoever's standing in this area here. So it's going to test for a captain, the orange on this side and the blue on that side there, and it's also going to test to see if there's a player in this cage here. And so this is all part of a big AND gate. The test for the player in that location, you can see the output comes along here to this redstone torch, which is overriding this, which is activated by the button at the front. So if there is a player in this location, it means when you press the button, this redstone is going to turn off. So then on either side we have a captain that is being tested for. So if the orange captain is in the arena, then this torch will turn off, meaning that this signal can then pass through to these command blocks up the top here. So if there's a player there, you can send a signal through to either side at the top here, depending on what captain is in the arena. And if we have a look at this, there's a bunch of commands that I'm still working on, but it is going to change that player's team, and it's going to teleport the captain back to the area. and then it's going to teleport the new captain in for the next selection. It's going to teleport the player to the team that it's on, so they're going to go up there, and then it's going to say that that player has joined the team. And so I've stopped at this point because I need to really think and evaluate the logic, because the next step to do once I've programmed in these commands is to simply copy this for every single cage. And so I hope my explanation is good enough there, because you can see how we're making this one modular thing do all of the work for us. So we don't need any complex redstone that's going to be detecting where the captains are and then swapping them over one by one. We've made it modular, so this does all of the work for us. And so then when I've done that, which is the next thing that I'll be doing, we'll be building a system to test for the players at every single location that you see here, and then it will also test for some sort of condition that's been set. For example, like the captains are now picking teams, and so if that's true, then no, sorry, it would be checking for if the captains aren't picking teams, so then it overrides the fact that all of these will be empty when you're playing a game or you're in the lobby before. And so when all of those conditions are met, you are picking teams, all of the cages are empty, then it will start off another bunch of command blocks that are going to teleport everyone into the game. Well, that was a lot of talking right there, but the next thing to do is to build it all and implement it, which I will. I have plenty of time to work on this, and I'm hoping we can make a lot of progress this episode, because once that's done, that is our captain selection system finished, and then we can move on to one of these other things. So I just want to address quickly some of the things like comments and stuff in the previous video. There are a lot of people suggesting ideas, ones which I think are really good, but I can't really sort of implement into my maps because I'm doing my own thing here. But I do appreciate people suggesting ideas. One very cool one that I saw was for a captain selection system, and we can make it so that you hit a player to select them for your team. So we could use command blocks to detect players, and then when you hit them, oops, they take damage, and then the command blocks detect that and teleport them into your team and heal them as well. So that was a really cool idea, but I'm not going to be implementing that because I've come up with my own system. But maybe in the future of the map making series we can do things like that when the map is finished, and I don't really need to do anything to all of this. We could start looking into different systems and I could show you how that's done. So the ideas are appreciated. I'll probably keep note of them for the future. So one of the other points, other things that I wanted to point out was a lot of people suggest these comments in redstone videos. Imagine if this person, that person were working together, ultimate redstone map or redstone team, things like that. I'm not going to drop any names because everyone's got their own favourite redstoner. But the thing with that is, and the reason why you don't see it is because actually most of us work best on our own. All the redstoners you watch, working as a team, our ideas would conflict and get in the way of each other, and that is actually why you haven't seen a load of redstoners team up together, because the nature of redstoning means that you really need to work on your own, so you fully understand your own systems, and then that way you'll be the best person to come in and improve them or fix them. And working as a team, you probably find that you get in each other's way, and then the end product would suffer because of that. So I really wanted to address that just because I see those comments all the time, and I saw some in the previous episode as well. And so the third thing, I think this might be a little disappointing for some of you, but I'm not going to be offering up a map download of this template. And of course you can download the maps and rip it out for yourself if you really want to use it, like that's the Gold Rush map when it's finished, but I'm not going to provide any official template. And the reason why is because I'm fairly sure that most people will use the template and then have trouble with it if they want to adapt it to do something for their map, and then they'll come back to me asking for help, which is not what I need. I try to answer questions wherever I can, but having a whole load of people come to me with questions about I can't get the template to do this or that would really kind of take away time from me working on these things. And so I also think that it's very important that with this series I teach you the tools so that you can go out and build these things yourself. Now, I was talking to someone about this and I gave them a really good example of why. If there is a maths test and I give you all of the answers, then you pass the maths test. You make your map is what we're using to express there, and so then you go into a test, you pass it, and then you get yourself a job, and you can't do your job. You have to come back to me and say, I don't understand the maths, can you tell me the answers? Whereas if I teach you all of the things, then you can go in and pass the maths test, and then when you get a job, i.e. making your own map, then you know exactly what you're doing because you've learnt the maths. So with this series I think it's very important that I I show you the things that I'm doing so that you can learn and understand them, and then if you rebuild them yourselves, you'll learn so much more about them than you will just using my system. So right, it's been really talky so far. Now it's time for me to get on and build the rest of this selection system. It has been a long time since I last recorded, and I had a lot of work to do with all these command blocks, and I made that work a lot more for myself because I got the syntax wrong on a lot of these blocks. So after copying and pasting them all and typing in all the different coordinates, I've made a really big mistake where you see the coordinates over here after the @player. These are different because they're within the brackets to the ones that you're teleporting to, which are over on the right side. So with these ones you put 0.5 and then you have a space between it for each one, and these ones you just have a comma between them without a 0.5, and I'd use this syntax over here. So after I'd asked a load of people to come and help me test it, and I put all of this together, I then had to go through 192 blocks and redo all of the syntax, which was an absolute nightmare. But this is now finished. I still need to do some more testing. I had some people come on and help me test, and to all of you who did come on here, your names have been noted down. Everyone who logs onto the server and helps me test, I want to credit in some way. Hopefully I'll be able to import all of your names onto the map in like a hall of credits. But I really appreciate everyone's help. A load of people came on and helped me, and I felt kind of bad as well because all they were doing was standing around in these little containment areas while I was trying to fix all of the command blocks. But those people were very helpful, and I really appreciate that. And if you want to get involved in helping me test all of this, if you just follow me on Twitter, what I do is I tweet out the IP address, and then you guys can come log on while I'm testing, although it's not going to be very exciting. Before long I will be testing the actual game. But the problem is with testing, something's going to go wrong, and before you know it, the fun is over because I have to figure out what's gone wrong and fix it. So there was one really big flaw that I overlooked with this that is now fixed as well. It's actually possible for players to get teleported twice, which is something we experienced when testing, because we have a system here where it checks for the player and then it opens up the AND gate. And so the very last thing that it does is it teleports the other captain into the area, and that at the same time that that happens, the other test for command down the bottom here will activate, and if you do it on the exact moment where this clock is activated, or maybe not the exact moment, but when the timing is right, it means that after the other captain has been teleported into the arena, that then the other one here activates, and it activates the signal on this side. So you basically activate one side of command blocks, and then a moment later all the other ones activate. So what I did to fix that is add 2 ticks to this, and now by the time the signal goes through this bit and it gets to the end and it teleports the other captain over, this part here is no longer active, so a signal cannot travel through the other side. And I'm yet to double check that and make sure it's all correct. But in theory it is, so we still could set this back yet another tick, or maybe just modify this and add in an extra repeater to prevent that from happening if it still can. So that is the team randomizer selection system almost finished. This thing over here, it's been a while since I looked at this. I won't go into too much detail, this is quite simple. I forget which way around it is, but this lists the players for captain's pick. So when the captains are picking, this AND gate right here is activated, and it's not until this becomes unpowered that then you get a signal out of this redstone torch. And one of the first things that it does is it sets the data there so this becomes powered again. And the rest of this I haven't programmed. We have some things to do here. Let's have a look. We have to clear the effects on the players because some of them have speed, and then we have to change captains to team members and then teleport them over to the team areas, which is what I'm probably going to be doing next. And then over here we have this simple system where the players get teleported into this tube, and then they stand on that pressure plate and set off all of these one by one. So these will set all of the players in there to no team, the ones that were pre-game, and then it will teleport them to all of the areas one by one, the little holding cells that you saw a moment ago. And then when it's done that, last of all these command blocks will apply some speed effects to the captains, and then yes, that's the very last thing there. It resets the captain's pick. So this thing over here goes off, but this one is now on because it's testing for players who are on no team, and that's what all of those players there are put into when they get teleported around here. So this side is on, and then it goes off at the last minute, but this side has come on because all the players are in the picking area. And then when everyone has been picked, that side turns off as well, and you get your output. So I've got a few more things to do here, and then we will be moving on to the team selection area. And I was marking out some different things that I wanted to put in this area, and I realised that we're a lot closer to completing the template and moving on to Gold Rush than I thought, because there are some things here like the Hall of Credits is one thing I need to do, but things like that and mini games I think I'm going to implement later, because I could end up spending a lot of time trying to add some mini games, which would be kind of pointless. It's not what we're here to do. We're here to get Gold Rush working, so that's something that I'll probably make modular and add in later on when I develop some mini games for my maps. The book system I'll talk about another time, and the tutorial are things that I'm going to have to work on separately from all of this, so I think we're actually a lot closer to being complete than I thought. So you can see I've done some work on the lobby. These are the rooms that the players will get teleported to after the captains have selected their teams, and also you can do it the traditional way as well and join the teams using these pressure plates, but this is still a work in progress. I've got the layout down, but I'm working on the redstone behind here, and I'm going to do all this in between episodes and then come back with the explanation in the next episode, because it's going to be a lot of talking, but it's going to be a very secure system as well, because I've discovered a flaw while we were doing some testings with the spawn area. So over there in that arena we have lots of glass, and all the players that join the game are supposed to be applied with the mining fatigue effect so they can't break the glass. And in our testing we found out that they can break the glass, and the reason why is because I've been applying mining fatigue level 4, I do believe, to them, and it turns out you can actually apply a higher level effect than 4. A while ago Mojang changed it. They used to have a cap, but now you can apply higher levels. So over here we're applying level 5. If you look at the number at the end, 0 is level 1, so that is level 5. And I've moved these around because when I came over here to change this, I realised that there's a big problem with this system right here. You see, this block here is powered, and that's the one that used to do this. And so this command block isn't activated until this block becomes unpowered and then powered again. So if there's just one person up there, they get teleported into the arena and then they don't get applied with the mining effect. And then this made me realise that we're just targeting at player. So we're targeting the nearest player, and that could change if we have lots of people up there moving around, and also the command blocks are in different positions as well, so it's actually not a very good system and we need to improve this. And what I'm doing over there in the lobby should help with that, but basically it means that some players will get teleported with the mining fatigue effect and some without. So we're going to have to rebuild this down here, which is a good thing, because then it means, you know, the map will be working as I want it to. So that is going to be it for this episode. I'm going to try and get all of the redstoney stuff done for the lobby, so when we start the next episode I'll be able to show you that and explain how it all works, and I think you're going to like it because it's going to be a very secure system. And also in the next episode we will take a look at cube control too. I said I'd do that last episode, but I got really distracted by the whole captain system, so there's that to look forward to as well. And last of all, I really would like your feedback again, like in the previous episode, because a lot of this stuff is really talky. I'm not sure if I'm making it interesting enough, and so if you guys let me know and you're not finding it interesting, then I can change things up, but if you are, then all's good. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.